Jonathan Kitchens is asking who's producing and who's mixing. Hello, Jonathan. Well, the album is being like Vertebrae. It's going to be produced by myself, yours truly, Ivar Björnsson, Herbrand Larsen and Grutle Kjellson. The three of us from within the band itself are being producers again. Yeah. And about the mixing, last album was mixed by Joe Boresi, and this time we're gonna have Jens Bogren in Fascination Street Studios mix the album. Jens Bogren has done the last few albums from Opeth, especially the last one we like the production on. Perhaps the one before that by Opeth had a bit too clean of a production for our liking, but we really like the new Opeth album. We're really excited to hear his work on the last Isan album, which is getting rave reviews already. So I guess Jens's mixing has a part in that. Really excited to work with him. Really excited to do that. Then we have a long question from John Becker. He's asking some production questions. Kato's not here right now, so I'm going to skip the one about the drum brand. We'll get back to that. Yes, he's using pasty cymbals, but for the actual drum kit, I'm not going to mess it up by saying something wrong now. Let's take the other ones. The recording questions. On the amps being used, the 5150 Mark II and the 6505 Plus. Yes, exactly, that's what's happening. We are using PV amplification exclusively, and the one we're using in Enslaved is the 6505 Plus, but I do have one of the 5150 Mark II from the old days before Van Halen left for Fender, and I've played that 5150 Mark II since 2001, so that's the one I'm using in the studio, because, you know, after playing it a lot, I guess the sound is a bit different than the newer 6505 that I also own. So I'm using a 5150 Mark II, and Icedale is using the 6505 Plus. Icedale is using, you know, his Gibson Les Paul and Flying V's directly into the head, and using the distortion from the 6505 Plus directly. Myself, I'm using some of the distortion from the 5150 Mark II, but mix it up with the Nova Drive from TC Electronics to get a little bit, let's say, less traditional kind of distortion, a little bit more of my, yeah, extreme roots mixed into the sound, while, you know, preserving the clarity that's there from using my Gibson SG with the PVs 5150. On the microphones being used on the drums, yeah, I guess I have to skip that one too, sorry about that. We'll get back in a later questions and answers and talk more about the drum particulars. Finally, John Becker is asking if Truls have ideas for the artwork. He's probably bursting with ideas already, but we haven't had the conceptual meeting that we always have. Normally, after we've recorded and made rough mixes of the album, at least, I guess once or twice we waited after the mix. This time I think we're going to do immediately after making rough mixes. Me and Grutle are going to travel to Stavanger, which is Truls' hometown, and go to his painting studio. Normally we go over to Stavanger in the morning, go to his place, have a few breakfast beers, put on the rough mixes, talk through the lyrics, talk through the concept, and just throw out, you know, whichever philosophical ideological discussions, or, you know, whatever thoughts or rantings me and Grutle have had during the last year of making the album. Throw it to Truls and see whatever he makes of it. He'll make sketches while we're talking, and sometime during the day, it could be after 2 hours, it could be after 1 hour, after 7 hours. he'll show us the sketches he'll been making while we're talking. And sometime during that process, we'll see a sketch that connects to what we're talking about. And he'll, you know, when he has a good enough sketch, we'll just leave him to it, leave him with the rough mixes, and he'll put it on really loud and you know, run around screaming in his studio and paint the painting. Then he'll make a scan and send over to us, and you know, so far it's the same thing every time. We look at it and we're just totally in awe of how precisely he's nailed our thoughts onto the canvas. I think that's what's going to happen this time also. Alright, last one for this session. Diana Shavdo Rova Brown. Hello again, Diana. Is asking, what is the concept behind this new masterwork? Already intrigued by the contemplation on travel. It just occurred to me that the best way for me to perceive Enslaved is when traveling. Of course it applies for other music as well, but in Enslaved's case it has a special meaning, as if I can't get to the depths of the music unless traveling. Yeah, we have a special relation to traveling in the band. You know, we're a traveling band. Myself, I come from a line of travelers, I guess. My great grandfather was a whaler. He traveled around the globe to the South Pole or whatever, you know, whaling. My grandfather was a sailor. He went around the world on ships, Norwegian ships, cargo ships. And I guess, you know, even though my dad's not out on sea, he's been moving around his entire life and still is, I guess. I enjoy touring, you know, that's... I just see it as a natural way of life. The concept behind the new album is, as I discussed in one of the earlier questions, we just don't want to reveal too much yet, and we still have a little bit of a distance to go. Me and Grutle are going to have some more late nights and go into that. One side we're talking about objectivity, other side we're talking about the holistic view on the mind, on integrating the so-called darker or evil sides into the mind. You know, the need for all sides in order to have a forceful, you know, presence and being able to shape reality how you want it to be. And how does that connect with the one mention of traveling? Yes, I guess you could talk about the term, the concept of something being constant is something I feel is interesting or could be relevant in connection with the concept of traveling and all this. It's hard to explain in words, and especially in English, what I'm thinking about right now. So, yeah, I guess I'm going to leave it there, and just with the key words of objectivity, holistic view on the lower and higher parts of the mind, and the concept of constants in traveling. Yeah, I guess I'm going to have to sit down and think quite a lot myself, so perhaps I'm able to elaborate verbally on this at a later stage.